coming on now.
No, I know that.
Just more.
All right, We'll be,
Since we have
we'll
to
be,
start-
starting soon. I'm worried.
Good afternoon.
Like you should speak on. Just press the button. Is it on? The person's. Yeah. They're on both sides. Cool.
Maury, can you hear
Maybe
us?
sold it.
Yes, you all sound good.
Okay, how about now? Cause I pressed something again.
It's good. Did it start blinking?
And you're on both, so just get your sign on here too. It's arts and culture and then his land use.
Oh, I get to sign everything.
He gets to sign both.
Any others?
Roy T. Roy T, where are you from?
I'm with DEP.
Oh,
I'm going to be talking a little bit about the Newtown Creek project.
Great. Roy, are you gonna present online?
I have some other people
Or
coming
who am
up.
I giving privileges to?
I think it's going to be Terrell Esnes.
No, okay, he's not on there yet, right?
Yeah, he's going to come on and I think he's going to be managing the slides.
Great. Nobody wants to use this with them. Should know that by now.
This was gonna be the simple little meeting, right? Marisa and I are gonna go through all this.
Everybody. Everybody on the range. Okay, that's true. Terrell, do I have to give you co-host?
Terrell there?
Yeah, Terrell E.
Oh, yes.
Oh, okay. Well,
Let me see if I can share.
Okay, wait a minute. I have to be
Yeah, it has to
privileged.
be turned on.
Can you function for me?
It's all the way up. You can be on this. There it is. Yep.
well, I think with the people online, we have a forum. So.
Yeah.
We still need to correct this. Great.
Yeah.
Hey, Terrell, I think you have privileges now.
Yeah.
Let me try it.
So can I just introduce the meeting?
Go for it.
All right. Good evening, everyone. This is the June meeting, actually a joint meeting of Queens Community Board 2, Land Use and Housing Committee and Arts and Culture Committee. I'm Christine Hunter. I'm the chair of the Land Use and Housing Committee. Ramit Kumar is the vice chair. And Deb Markell here is the district manager. So we'll get started. We have a pretty packed agenda. This is our last meeting before summer break. So just to be sure we give everybody that, is here to present an opportunity, we're going to limit discussion after each presentation, just to get through the agenda. And I guess we're starting with DEP, who's going to make a presentation about this big project along Newtown Creek, correct?
That's correct. So let me see if I can get this on screen. Tell me if you're seeing.
Yes.
Good.
Okay. All right. Can you see the full screen? I've got some Zoom stuff. I'm
can
not
see
sure
it.
if that's just my monitor. You can see it?
Yep. Just.
Okay. I know you guys have a lot going on. I'm wondering if Alfonso is here from DEP Public Affairs.
I didn't see him get on yet.
Okay, so how about I kick it off and apologize to Alfonso later in case he joins right after I start. But I want to thank you for letting us come before you to talk to you about this very large project, the Newtown Creek CSO Storage Tunnel project. What we want to do is give you a preview of the project in anticipation of our hoping to get into ULURP in September. Alfonso, I know, worked with you to get on this agenda. He's with the Bureau of Public Affairs and Communication, as well as Tara Deegan. I'm Terrell Estison, and I'm joined by David Lee. We're with the Bureau of Environmental Planning and Analysis, who are handling the seeker and the ULURP preparation. And we also have Roy Tisvier from our Bureau of Engineering, Design, and Construction. So we want to give you some background on the project, explain a little bit about CSOs or combined sewer overflows, tell you about the project, give you a brief overview of the ULURP actions in the schedule, and answer any questions. And with that, I'll hand it over to Roy.
Okay, so this project is basically located, so this project was basically initiated in response to the Clean Water Act. We're under consent order with New York State DEC. And in 2018, there was a long-term control plan that was developed and approved, which basically concluded that control of the four largest outfalls, CSO control of the four largest outfalls, was the best project for this water body. Subsequent to that, it also became a Superfund site, Newtown Creek. So EPA reviewed this project and the LTCP. And as far as the CSO aspect of that project, they felt that it addressed the needs of the Superfund program. So this project is basically being done under both Superfund and Clean Water Act. Briefly, a combined sewer overflow is basically, we have an older city, and as a result of that, a large percentage of our sewers carry both stormwater and sanitary flow. We have 14 wastewater treatment plants in the city, and these plants are sized for the area that they serve, and they're designed to handle a certain amount of flow during dry weather, and at least twice that flow during wet weather. In the event that the storm is larger than the plant can handle, the system starts to back up, and as a result, on the right-hand graphic there, you can see that excess flow that the plants can't handle has to be discharged to the nearest water body. So this program is about capturing those CSO events and storing them until we can treat them at the wastewater treatment plant, in this case, Newtown Creek. This is basically the major elements of the project. You can basically see there's a yellow line, which is the alignment of the tunnel. The tunnel is a little over 3 miles long. It's a storage tunnel. Basically, the flows will be diverted into the storage tunnel from each of the heads of the major tributaries to Newtown Creek. So that'd be English Kills, East Branch, Masbeth, and Dutch Kills. The tunnel is pretty large. It's about 22 feet in diameter. And after the rain event, when the plant, Newtown Creek, is able to process the stored CSO, there's a pump station at the location you can see next to the plant there, which is currently a sanitation facility. where there's going to be a pump station to pump flow into the plant and it'll be treated. The consent order for this project requires us to finish the project and put it online by December 2040.
I'm sorry, December what?
2040.
Okay.
This is basically just a functional schematic of the project. It kind of includes all the major elements, and it kind of gives you a little bit of an idea of, you know, what facilities and elements are included in the project. Basically, we're taking the flow from the head of each of these tributaries and diverting it through an approach channel and drop shafts into the tunnel, where it's ultimately pumped out at the pump station by Newtown Creek and treated. And that's basically the 30,000 foot view of the project.
So due to the scale of the project, DEP's proposed CSO tunnel project will require site selection and property acquisition. And as you can see, this is the map to the left side, the figure here, showing the bounds of the property, the project limits. You see the figure, the polygon in orange, and then the blue line you see here shows the potential CSO tunnel alignment. And then seen in another figure, the locations of the 4 outfalls, largest outflows, such as NCQ 77 or BB26 are seen here, as well as the proposed tunnel dewatering pump station location. So this is speaking to, on the right side, speaking to the identified ULURP actions. So this includes, as mentioned, site selection, and then property acquisition, specifically a combination of full acquisition and then easement acquisitions, which are comprised of both subterranean tunnel easements and permanent surface easements and temporary construction easements. Next slide. This is an overview of the ULURP process. So as of now, the project is currently in pre-certification phase process, and this is an overview of the schedule. Schedule looking ahead. So for September of this year, DEP is anticipating that the draft environmental impact statement, the EIS, will be completed and issued. And in the same month, also in September, the ULURP application is anticipated to be certified, and that would begin the city review, as noted in the diagram below. So going from certification to the community boards, Bureau of President's Office, and the CPC, and then finally to the City Council for final approval. And then moving on to February 2026, DEP anticipates that the final environmental impact statement, the FEIS, will be completed. And then the spring of next year, in either March to April 2026, the ULURP application process is expected to be completed. Next slide. This slide speaks to provides an overview both of the regulatory background and then what exactly the EIS is examining and disclosing. So DEP's environmental review for the Newtown Creek CSO storage tunnel project is being prepared pursuant to Article 8 of the Environmental Conservation Law establishing the State Environmental Quality Review Act, SEQRA, and its regulations that set forth in NYCRR Part 617 and New York City's Environmental Quality Review, SEQRA, as set forth in 62 RCNY Chapter 5, and New York City Executive Order 91 of 1977 and its amendments. And it is using the methodology as set forth in the 2021 SEQRA Technical Manual. And then you see here and below, the EIS will examine and disclose potential adverse significant environmental impacts from the construction and operation of the CSO tunnel and its associated infrastructure. So this include the diversion chambers, drop shaft, new outfalls, and odor control systems. Each technical analysis will include detailed considerations of impacts that could occur from the construction of the proposed project, specifically the construction of the new tunnel and related infrastructure, as well as consideration of the impacts once the construction is complete and the proposed CSO tunnel and diversion facilities are operational. Next slide. And this provides an overview of the impact categories that will be assessed in the EIS. So this includes impact categories such as land use, zoning, public policy, socioeconomic conditions, transportation, open space and recreation, air quality, shadows, historic and cultural resources, noise, public health, natural resources, neighborhood character, hazardous materials, and environmental justice. Next slide. And then this provides an overview of both Seeker and ULURP, the environmental review and ULURP schedule, as well as key milestones for construction. So as mentioned, the DEIS is anticipated to be issued by September of this year. And then the FEIS is anticipated to be completed by February 2026. And ULURP process is expected to be completed by April 2026. And then moving forward to November of 2026, DEP anticipates that the property acquisition process will be completed. And then next, moving on to the construction milestones. Construction procurement is anticipated to proceed by December 2026. And then the construction notice to proceed, NTP, is anticipated for the following year in December 2027. And finally, construction substantial completion is anticipated for December 2040.
Yes.
Let's say, yes. This is a big
All right.
project. In view of time, I'd like to, I mean, I can think of any number of questions, but let's limit it to, 10 minutes max. And I'll just start off with one question. A year and a half ago, I think, maybe 2 years, we reviewed this Army Corps study that I'm sure you're familiar with about, dealing with storm surge in East River. And they had some rather drastic proposals for the mouth of Newtown Creek, but which we weren't necessarily in favor of, but one of the prerequisites was that all the outfalls be moved to the East River somehow. And would this project essentially do that by removing the polluting CSOs from Newtown Creek?
It basically, if they were to put in tide barriers or something like that at the head of Newtown Creek,
Right.
basically all this would do is add 50 million gallons. We're basically increasing the storage capacity by 50
Right.
million gallons. So it'd be 50 million gallons less to deal with, but to relocate the flow past the a flood barrier, that is a different scenario.
Okay, so this wouldn't meet that. All right, other questions?
I think the biggest question that I have is around the property acquisition. How complicated do you foresee that being? I would imagine some of that is private property.
I'll start. Yeah, a lot of it's private property. There's some MTA property, some city-owned parcels. We've identified within the orange shaded area 99 parcels that would either get a subterranean tunnel easement. And there's 3 land parcels up by BB 26. So the vast majority of these, the easement that we need is well below ground. The tunnel would be around 80 feet below surface at the bottom end by NCB 015. It would go down to about 150 feet below surface at the dewatering pump station in Greenpoint. So it's well below grade. So we'd be getting the rights well below. It would not affect the surface uses. Therefore, we're hoping that it's a relatively straightforward process to get the subterranean easements. The sites that are red outlined, that's where we'll have surface facilities, and we need to acquire those properties. In most cases permanently. There's a couple of partial sites that we just need for construction. And so that's a process. We've reached out to some of those, well, most of those owners, and there's a couple that we'll be contacting very shortly. Also hoping that those go smoothly as well. And that we anticipate will take some more negotiation than the subterranean easements, which we hope to be pretty straightforward, mostly because the effect on those properties is minimal in terms of what the owner can do with it.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and given the life, the life safety and aspects of this and the court order, the fact that you're under a court order, if you weren't able to, agree with the property owner to acquire the property, would you use eminent domain?
We would. We'll start looking to do negotiated acquisition. And if we're not successful in that, we would do eminent domain. If we ended up there, yeah.
Other questions? Stephanie?
Yeah, sorry if I was sorry I was late, just in case I missed it. What is the approximate cost of the total project and how is it being funded? Did I miss that? Did everybody talk about that
No,
already?
we didn't hear that cost.
So the current estimate is of the entire project is in excess of $3 billion. And it's being funded by capital funds.
And
Ultimately,
are you
it'd be
fully
paid
funded
by the
already, or do you have plans to raise the rest of it?
the money is all in the capital plan right now. Some of it is maybe a year or two out of the need, but the money is in the capital plan. It's been approved by all of you.
That's one more question.
Any other questions? I have one last question. I hear that most of the, easements are going to be deep underground and that you're also constructing some facilities, but are there any areas of property acquisition which would provide opportunities for open space at grade level, for recreational open space at grade level?
It's something that we're considering right now. We're very early in design. You guys know that ULURP's a lengthy process, acquisitions a lengthy process. So we're still sorting out what our operational needs will be at the site, at these various sites. This will be our first tunnel of this nature. So the layout and what the surface needs are, like what you can and cannot put anything over at the surface. We're early in that process and we're talking with our operating bureaus regarding what their needs are, and what they'll want to put at the sites. We're mindful though that there's, it's always good to have some public benefit and use if we can do it, but we're too early in the process to have any specifics or to be able to speak with certainty about what we'll be able to do.
Okay, thank you. And I guess, community board too, it's hard, that's a very large scale map, so I can't see where our boundaries are, but we are very, very short on recreational open space throughout, and green space, I should say, even if it's, not active recreation. So we'd be very interested in hearing more and talking to you and giving you our input about, all of those environmental needs. Appreciate. And this will be the last.
Okay, thanks. Sort of going along with that, can we just make sure that when you are doing the study to draft your EIS, to explicitly look into that open space possibility, as well as trying to foresee any other possible impacts if there is going to be a rezoning, how your building timeline will affect what might be happening in the same area. So this is a request. Just please make sure that that is in your study when you are doing your DEIS, so that we don't get to that point and then we say, oh, we forgot to analyze that.
This is Alfonso. Sorry, I was trying to capture that, but my audio went out. Could you just give me that again? Just make sure I write it down.
Yes, so just a request, when you are analyzing those areas of impact before you release a DEIS, to explicitly look into open space possibilities, as well as how your construction timeline may affect the possible rezoning timeline.
The context is there's a large
Okay.
zoning happening in this area.
Right. Yeah. Okay. No, I got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, GCP, really quick related to that, I feel like this CSO tunnel answers a lot of the questions that we have had related to, well, the flows, and it didn't come up at all in a lot of our conversations. So this is something that you probably should publicize as part of the one LIC process.
Very specific to the.
Yeah,
So it may be south of the one LS, specific one LS.
Mhm.
that's true. Yes, I guess.
Yeah, I haven't been in all of the conversations. It will mostly pick up areas south of where the rezoning will be, with the less sewage going, the northern part of this area, that BB at the topmost alpha, that's Bowery Bay. So it will take some flow out of going into the area. So, it won't hurt, but it's also not going to directly serve or be within the rezoning area proper.
Got it. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you
Sure.
very much. Well, I guess hear more in September, it sounds like.
Can you
Okay.
take the presentation down? Yes. Quick question, Alfonso, Commissioner, thank you for coming and bringing the presentation. It's Debbie. I just
Thank you.
to note, this is the presentation you're gonna give at the Environment Committee at the end of the month, correct?
This one's separate. This is specifically on this topic, and we wanted to address it to this group. The one that I'm going to do later is the Flood 101. That's the one that you heard that I gave at Borough Hall.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I
Of
appreciate it.
course.
Right.
Thank you. And credit to you all for starting on time. I was stuck in a meeting and I was like, I got a few minutes, and then I get on and the party already started. But I'm glad you got the information. Thank you again for the time, and we'll follow up.
Okay. Well, I think we should keep shut down. Okay, so next on our list is a landmark application for 2149 45th Avenue.
I'm having a problem with my app. I think it's for running a low
Please
battery.
speak louder because we record and people on Zoom have to be able to hear you. as
Oh,
well.
I'm just saying I'm having a problem with my laptop. If by any chance I can use iPad? Zoom? No?
Yeah, it should.
Yes, you can.
Should work.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, perfect. I also have some hard copy printout that I gave it some
Yeah, you
Yeah.
probably want to give one
yeah,
to Steve,
right?
and then
Okay, so I bring, I'm sorry.
Introduce yourself. and
Yes,
committee.
my name is Lynn. First of all, thank you for seeing me and give us this opportunity to do the presentation. My name is Lynn Chu. I'm here talking about the 2149 45th Avenue where one-story extension. I bring some hard copy. I was told to bring over. I have one big one. Maybe it's easy to show everybody. It's a little bigger. I don't know how that works.
Yeah, on a Zoom meeting, that's
I better speak. Zoom. I have a little 11 by then. I have 7 copies, smaller one. Okay. So I don't know.
So just give us all of it and we'll,
Perfect.
yeah, and then you can start the presentation.
Oh, okay. How can I hook on the Zoom?
I'll be the.
Oh, yeah.
and
Yeah.
Yeah, it might be easier for you to just email your deck for me, so he can pull it
Yeah,
up for you.
I can share it.
Oh, yeah, perfect. I can email to you. I can send it to you. Yeah. It's myself.
See?
Which email I should get?
I'll type it in for you. I don't just.
Already emailed myself.
And just before we start, have you already gone through this presentation with landmarks?
I was told, do CB public hearing first and then landmark.
You know, yeah,
Yes.
this is the landmarks guidelines clearly say that they should review their presentation with the staff person. Oh, so you reviewed, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying
They did.
to, okay,
We did.
okay. So it did, you did review it with landmarks?
Yeah,
And
and we have,
Okay, great.
yeah, we
Thank
went
you.
through every, yeah.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
All right, I got the presentation. Give me 1 second.
We're friendly, don't worry. Until we're
Feel
done,
nervous.
I'm kidding.
The words out of my mouth.
Gotta get it off. It's over.
Right, we're good to go.
Good to go?
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so we're talking about the 2149 45th Avenue, Island City.
Again, please speak loud because you have people in the room and people on Zoom that need to hear.
All right, okay, so we're talking about 2149 45th Avenue property. It's located between 21st and the 23rd Street and in the Hunter Point Historic District borough of the Queens. It has a 3-story plus basement and a cellar. So at the slide 1 here, you can see this slide 1 shows historic and current facade and the location of subject building 2149. Goes next slide. So this is a slide showing you location of the subject property in the dark blue area, and the bottom you see the very bottom is a right line 21, but that's the location of subject property. We're here proposing 1-story rear extension. So next slide. Oh, yeah. The slide 3, we provide you full block 78, all building blueprint. As you see, within the historic, there are 28 total buildings. 23 facing 45th Avenue, 5 buildings facing 23rd Street. 18 of 28 has rear extension. So in other words, the major properties on this block has a rear extension. So next one. Okay, this is slide showing you existing rear facade of the building in the middle with both adjacent property. 2151 if you're facing rear on your left, and the beige color is adjacent building 2147 45th Avenue. Both has 1-story rear extension. So next, next slide. This slide 5. Oh, before, previous. Slide 5. Okay, this slide showing you proposed one-story rear extension addition with roof terrace without cellar. As you see, the bottom, the foundation footing, it's a match up adjacent building. The only one story with a roof terrace. And adding a middle door in to get it on the roof. And it's compared with both adjacent building current condition. This is the middle one with a dot line, pink line. That's our proposed one story with roof terrace. The next one. This is a slide showing you proposed one story addition in the rear and compare with both adjacent building. So on the left side, you can see the address on the top, 2151 has a little bit short, which is 13 feet, but they have coming down stairs. So the total depth will be over 20 feet. So on the right side, 2147 45th Avenue also has existing one-story extension addition. They filed around 2010, 11, with the building department also approved on the LPC doc number 105347 in 2010. It was approved on the depth 19.8 feet and a one story with a solid parapet wall. So our proposed one story for subject building 2149 45th Avenue. It's also one story, same depth as 2147, which is 19.8 feet and same height. But we're encourage owner to install railing and balusters, and which creates less shadow, more see-through, and we're not proposing any coming downstairs. So in other words, we're not creating any new depth, any new height, just a simple one-story extension in the rear. So next one. Next slide, this 3 photos showing the current condition with existing one-story rear addition on both building, on both adjacent buildings. So the left one showing the subject building rear condition now, and the adjacent 2151, they have a hand railing. They don't have a solid parapet wall. And the middle lower one is showing the current condition of subject building, and with the right hand adjacent building, which is 2147 45th Avenue. You can see looks higher because they do have one story addition, but their parapet wall make a building higher and more shadow. We're proposing same depth as adjacent building 2147. The right side photo, the highlighted light color shade area is the top view of our proposed one-story addition compared to adjacent buildings. Next slide, please. Yes. Slide A showing existing subject building section. So next one. This slide 9 showing you proposed one-story addition in the rear, and no cellar, just a basement with hand railing. Next one. This slide showing you existing and proposed floor plan of a basement. Bottom one is a shorter current condition, and the top one is with additions in the rear. So the next slide, please. This slide showing you first floor, existing and a proposed floor plan. So it's showing the roof terrace. In the middle, we have additional add one door between two existing building. So they're basically same as adjacent building, look, the real look of 2147. Any questions?
Very clear presentation, thank you, and, you know, it looks like you're very contextual at the rear in terms of what your neighbors have already done, and just to be clear, this is a two-family house,
It's
right?
two-family house.
And basically you're taking a studio apartment and creating a one-bedroom apartment with the addition, right?
It's a basement and a first floor, it's a one family. And we're basically, yep. This is
Oh,
a
wait.
3-story flat basement. And cellar.
But the basement, well, it doesn't, I mean, it doesn't really matter, I was just trying to understand.
Yes. Yes, it's a
Okay.
lowest level in conjunction with the upper level as one family.
So it's a one-family house.
It's one
Oh,
family. It's a two-family house, but one family with basement. It's one family, upper floor, it's another one family. A total two family.
Right,
Two-family house extending, yes, but
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay,
Okay,
yeah.
so right now the basement apartment is a studio, essentially, you're adding a bedroom to the basement level apartment.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions?
yeah, I have one question.
Yeah.
You showed us in context with the neighbor on either side of you. What about the remainder of that block? Has the remainder of that block, are there any extensions on the balance of that block?
Yeah. There are total 28 buildings, within this, historic area.
How many of them?
18 of them has rear extensions,
Yeah,
and
if you-
4 of them has 2 stories.
Can you go back to slide 3, because I think that is.
Yeah,
Steve's
here.
question. Yeah,
So you see all the green one is a rear extension and the right one is a 2-story extension, but the 18 of the building within the historic area has a rear extension. It's more than 50%. Thank you.
This seems pretty uncontroversial
Yes,
to me,
I think,
so do we need a vote?
I think, does somebody want to make a motion?
Motion.
Okay,
Uh,
right. Okay, any opposed? All right, I think you just got unanimous approval from our committee.
Thank you so much.
Okay,
Thank you.
Maury, go ahead.
No, I was just voting.
Oh, you were voting. Oh, sorry. It's just-
all right. Richard Bass, 3915 Stillman Avenue.
Can I take advantage of your driving skill?
Yes.
Yeah. Confused. Hi, I'm Richard Bass. I'm with the law firm of Aikman LLP. I'm here on a very preliminary discussion. This passes out. Take one and pass around. 3115 Stillman Avenue is on the northeast corner of 39 and Stillman. Thank you. We just started discussions with city planning, and I thought I should come and talk to the community boards. This is gonna be a long process, so you'll be seeing me over the next couple years. Right now, it's a 1-story above grade building. I'm gonna wait for it.
Okay,
Yeah,
Just one sec. Sorry.
it's adjacent to Torsten Trust.
Right, it's just west.
Yeah.
Across the street, there's a gas station, down the block of residential buildings, some are 6-story, dating back to the 30s and 40s.
But this includes that food site, food delivery site.
Yes.
I can never quite figure out what's going on.
As you guys know, city planning doesn't like spot zoning, so they've asked us to include several tax lots to the east that we don't own to be included in the
Oh,
zoning
okay.
project. And I'll show it in the picture. Next slide. Next slide. So this is, the red circle that you can barely see is, the zoning area. We're flush up against, the Sunnyside Yards, to the north. To the south, is, a manufacturing district. To the west, we're in an M11 district now. There's a residential district, to the south in Skillman. Next slide. This shows the land uses, if I can point. The major rectangle is our site. The small rectangle is the quote unquote project area. Again, city is planning lights to include other tax lots in a rezoning. Next slide, please. This is what it looks like from the bird's eye view. Again, the major rectangle is our site. Next slide. The tax map showing, you can see the development site in red, and the project area includes those three. There are actually four really small tax lots to the east. Next slide. This is what it looks like in photographs. It's again a 1-story above grade. It's somewhat 3 stories below grade going into the yards. Next slide. Gives you a sense of some of the scale. The bottom left is a picture of the 6-story buildings that are across the street from us. On the west side of 39th is a 1-story building with a curb cut really close to the corner, which I was so surprised at. Next slide, please. So the proposed actions is rezoning from an M11 to an R8A C24 zoning district. We do mandatory, every rezoning is mandatory. We're looking at option 1, probably option 1 and option 3. Should I explain option 1?
No, I think we're.
Okay. And I'm talking fast because you told me to talk fast. So if I'm going too fast and you want me to stop, I will. The proposed action would be approximately 534,000 zoning square feet, 705,000 gross, 547 total dwelling units, 137 permanently affordable units. Then again, that's at the 25% of the residential square footage. We're also looking at putting a school in and a supermarket.
I'm sorry, a school?
A school. The
Have
SCA
you talked to the SCA about this?
The SCA actually looked at this site, and because it's over 70,000, it was too big for them. So they walked away. The architect that I retained has done 12 schools for the SCA, 5 in Queens. So they know how to design schools for the SCA, and now the SCA is more interested. So that's kind of the evolution how we got to a school. Next slide, please. We get to the drawings. So that's what the tax lot looks like. Next slide, please. This is what the footprint of the building would look like. The upper right-hand corner is the playground. The school would be below it. I have some colored pictures that will explain it a little bit better.
Oh, play roof. What you call playground is what you're calling play roof.
Right.
Okay.
Next slide, please. This actually describes it better in color coordination. The yellow would be the school. The green would be the retail, the supermarket, and any other local retail, and the blue would be the residential.
But the school is, where's the entry to the school?
The entry will be on Stillman.
Okay, so there'll be, because.
Right, and again, this is really preliminary and it looks like a massive flat building. When we come back to you next time, we'll have an articulated building that is both pedestrian friendly and interesting to look at. But again, this is very early in our process. Next slide, please. This is what it looks like looking east and west. The picture on the west, on the left is standing on 39th looking east. And the other one is standing at the east of the building looking west. So again, the yellow is the school, the green is the supermarket. Next slide, please. this is what it looks like in 3D. Again, the yellow is the school. The entrances, we would like to do on Stillman. The city planning wants us to put it on the bridge, which I think is unsafe.
Wait, the entrance to which?
Uh,
The residential?
To the parking, into the building.
Oh,
The school and residential, the entrances will be on Stillman.
right.
Stillman is is a 2 travel lane, 2 parking lane. I think that's a safer place to have entrances into the building. I also don't think DOT would allow us to cut into their bridge to have a turn in and turn out.
That's not a DOT bridge, isn't it? It's an Amtrak bridge. Right?
It's a what? No,
And
the car bridge. On
Car bridge.
On 39.
Yeah, but isn't that why we have had so much trouble getting that bridge improved upon? It's because it's Amtrak. Okay.
Well, again, I'm repeating what city planning would like us to do. I don't think it's a safe turn. I'm not an engineer. But Skillman is a very wide street and our frontage is really wide. And I think that when we get into designing it, that will be a safer alternative than being 100 feet onto 39th Street and making a right into the building.
I mean, the only thing I can think of is that they wanna not, they're thinking about bike traffic and
Yeah.
other traffic. on
There's a
Stillman,
lot of
and they're
bike
not wanting to
lanes.
interrupt that. I don't know.
That may be it, but to do a curb cut, even though there's multiple curb cuts now on Stillman,
Right.
to establish a quote unquote new curb cut, that's a public review process. And so city planning is trying to eliminate the actions in this ULURP. So we'll continue this
Okay.
discussion, but I'm throwing it all on the table. Next slide, please. This is what it looks like from the rear. Again, the yellow would be the play area. One of the beauties of this site is it's so wide, we can have a good sized residential building and a school, but also provide a play yard for the students. Yeah, next slide. Here are the numbers, which you can barely read, but it gives you all the breakdown, zoning gross by floor. Also, the bottom is the number of residential units. I always urge my clients to do 40% 2 and 3 bedrooms, because that's more family style bedrooms. And again, that would be for the affordable and for the non-affordable.
That would be good. I mean, that would definitely be the community preference. I think I can speak.
I've been doing this a few years. I might as well cut to the chase.
Right.
40% 2 and 3 bedrooms seems to be acceptable in most communities. So I think that's really my presentation.
50% is best. 50% yeah, but-
I'll take that into account. We are just now, you all know the ULURP process. We're only working on the reasonable worst case memo now, which will really define the outline of what the ULURP action will be. When we have that, I will share that with the community board. I reached out to the council member to do orientation again like this, so she knows what we're doing. And I will continue to keep you informed as we go through this process. I hate to say it's a lot longer than it should be. But that's kind of,
Okay, thank you. Comments?
Yeah,
Very quickly.
I feel like I really appreciate this, staying on a lot of things that we ask for from developers. It has options 1 and 3, it has a school, it has a grocery store, it has 2 and 3 bedrooms, so, I mean, really good stuff. I like it.
The one thing having been, I'm sure you're aware of the building that's going up on Barnett Avenue behind Phipps. And, which I think we finally arrived at 8 stories as the max there. So there will be discussion, so you'll get community reaction to height. And because you're proposing 14. So I would really urge your architect to consider schemes that are a little more modulated with maybe more setbacks along Skillman and as opposed to right now, he's really carving out the back.
right.
So that's just in terms of how the building looks, how it relates. I guess you're not really within 100 feet of the landmark area, but,
No.
but,
I anticipated that comment because that's my reaction to it. We're going to try to, play with the facade and play with the height, but because of the school, being, almost double height, in some places, it reduces our ability to, bring down the height, but that's one of our concerns. Again, this is a 14-story building, which is taller than in the area. But initially, when we first met with city planning, again, the usual process, you have this informational meeting, and then it gets, you file PAS, then you do it into the divisional meeting, where they tell you how to prosecute an application like you've never done one before. And then you get to do the reasonable worst case, and then you get to do the work on the ULURP. City planning at their first meeting mentioned an R9A, which would have resulted in an 18-story building, but we thought that was too tall.
Do you happen to mention how tall the building is across the street?
It's 6 stories. I would imagine it's more like 70 feet.
Yeah.
And again, when we get into the designing the building, I taught urban planning for 28 years, so I'm really into how buildings fit in the neighborhood and that they're pedestrian friendly. So we'll have an architectural treatment that will be pedestrian friendly, but also tip-it-tat to the built environment that's there around. Obviously, we're not going to match the 1-story gas station across the street, but
Marisha and then some, and
Danielle, and then
okay.
Kate Chapter.
All right.
Two requests. Since we're early enough in this design process,
okay.
could there be consideration to include a space within that school design for arts and culture use? Because we do have a lot of arts and cultural organizations in the neighborhood that need space, and we've been thinking about, I have been thinking of a way to try and better integrate arts education within a school design plan.
Is that more
While
like
giving
community facility,
It is community
nonprofit?
Yes, but specifically arts and culture, because that tends to kind of fall down by the wayside underneath this broader category of community
What
facilities.
size are we talking? 5,000, 10,000?
No, we're talking like.
100,000.
I mean, realistically, within a school, we're talking about like 2,500 square feet.
Okay.
And then,
The reason I asked, I'm doing a building on 57th Street and Manhattan Community Moved Forward wanted a similar thing, and it's like, what size are we talking about? Are
Yeah.
we talking about 2,500 or are we talking about 20,000?
right.
It makes a difference.
Yeah, I mean, I think I have just been playing with that number because it seems to be ample enough for actual work to happen, but within a school structure, and again, I don't really know specifically how that can work, but I imagine because there's precedence in this in Brooklyn, if it's enough, to work within a school and like classroom size parameters of a school, like let's say it's worth how many classroom sizes, then there could be a lot of good synergy with how the artists can provide arts education to that school system. The second request is, could there be, investment as you're building higher? Can they also add to that park that's gonna be right up against the school? To somehow make that park bigger?
To the east?
Yeah.
There's a property in between.
Yeah, there's properties in between.
Oh, I thought that included the whole.
No. The project area touches the park, but our development site does not.
Okay.
But again, this is a detail I don't know, but, schoolyards for SCA are usually public schoolyards. So we'll have to work out how.
Yeah,
that's-
but not if it's in the interior of the building, right? Yours is, I mean, you'd have to go through the building to get to that.
Or, let me,
If not, I mean, if that space could be more public, more
Exactly.
publicly
Okay.
We
available.
need more public open space. Especially if there's gonna be a lot more kids there. That park is already we're already at capacity of that park.
this is the reason why I wanted to come to you early. And again, it's the first time seeing this. So as you think about it over the summer, if you know how to find me, shoot me emails. We're in the thinking and designing phase. In a former life, I was with Messenger's planning director, and I used to advise community boards how to play in the ULURP process. And community boards hate being, brought in at the last minute because everything's 2 cents. I don't like doing it.
But no, we appreciate this.
All right, we have hands on nine, Danielle, Patrick, and Nick.
Hi, thank you. And thank you very much for our grocery store. That's amazing. My question is what, for the 137 affordable units, are you going to use a city program or the state program? How is that kind of incentivized for you?
I don't have an answer for you, but I will.
Okay, thanks.
Right now, there's a 5-year waiting list at HPG for subsidy. With our federal government cutting back on federal housing funds, that waiting list is going to get longer. So the economics of this project, we're working out. But again, as we develop that, it's a really good question, but I will share that.
There is there is 485X too, which is the state program. So
Yeah.
I'm sure you know.
But that's an incentive program. That's not a HPD funding.
Right.
That's
True.
it's great if the 485X made sense, which is questionable. It would be an internal subsidy.
Patrick, go ahead.
Patrick?
Yep, I'm here. Sorry, I'm clearly out and about. That's why I'm off camera. Until now. So yeah, great presentation, great idea. It would almost be as if someone from your team were paying attention to our One LIC conversations, addressing all the needs that we were looking for. However, I did notice that there is 1 or 2 levels for parking in the area, in the building. And while I would understand we don't want to add any more to the streets that we don't have space for, this community board is usually less than receptive to any additional parking, interior or exterior. So I guess what would be the rationale for adding parking space in the building, and could it be used for possibly something else like a arts and culture space or something other than for the benefit of cars and car users?
So right now we're looking at parking below grade. It's an issue of whether even parking is required at this site. But if we have a supermarket and school uses and that much residential, we thought that we should provide some parking. We're looking at 150 to 200 cars. That sounds like a lot, but again, we need to model that. We need to understand how that adds into the traffic in the area.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
All right, we have one more question.
Yeah, we had Nick.
Love how this looks. Would this prevent the construction of a Skillman Avenue Long Island Railroad station?
A really good question. I don't have an answer for you. Can you give me some detail or background?
No, I know just the fact we've talked about this as a community for, certainly for the 4 years I've been on this board, but potentially much longer than that. And I am very much for more housing density, especially in this area, but it is a consideration abutting the Sunnyside Yards.
Well, I know because I did a lot of work in Board 1, I attended the discussions about the Sunnyside Yards development, which just seemed to have dropped off later. Our project doesn't touch the yards, it's contiguous to the yards. So I don't think it would foreclose if the yards were used as a subway or as a train stop. But that's a really interesting question. I'll take it back to our team and explore it some more. And
I imagine that station got to the level of design because I think it was designed and then essentially unfunded or skipped because it brought the.
But it was located where the 7th train across the street.
For the 7th
That's what it was,
train.
'cause they-
Okay, so it was significantly further west.
further west.
So and they have plenty of right of way. I don't see how this project would impede that station.
Don't worry about it. Okay, but it's, again, I looked at the plans for there. I tried to find your district needs statement, because.
Worked on it.
We can
We've
get,
got lots of needs.
But again, these are the type of things that
All right.
I bring to the table when I bring a project.
Thank you.
Hey, Keon, you lowered your hand. Anything you wanted to say there?
No, hi, Richard. It's Kim Yang from City Planning. Just wanted to thank you for bringing up city planning so many times and appreciate going down on density. And appreciate you going into the community board when we've asked you to, so appreciate that. Wanted to reiterate the ULURP process. They are far from it. We are in this pre-cert process with them, so there will be many times that they will come before you to review all the things you've asked. So thank you.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
All right.
Well, thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
Be well and safe. Have a great summer.
Okay.
You all the time. Thank you.
Take this.
Next up, we have the Long Island City Partnership. Again, thank you for coming. We have. We are gonna, we ended up with this really packed agenda. so-
Okay, we'll be quick. We do have a presentation.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll just, yeah, I can probably take that. I'll stop.
While he's in the interest of time, while he's loading the presentation, I can give a little bit of background. I'm Laura Rothrock, president of Long Island City Partnership, and I think you know Charles too, vice president of economic development. And we are coming to you today about a brownfield opportunity area grant. So the stakes are low because this is a grant application, but we do need the community board support in order to apply for this grant, and that's written in the state legislation. So the community, so some of these slides I took from the state's presentation about this program.
Sorry, it's the PD. PDF.
Is that the right?
Neil.
Their presentation was pretty long, so we cut it just for the, and also added some maps just to show the area that we're looking at. So as far as the timing, it's not ideal because they just announced this grant in May and the applications are due in July. And we told them the community board breaks for the summer. And so thank you for including us in the agenda. I know it's very busy. So the state came to us and asked us to apply for this grant. And sorry, I know I'm not standing in the best location. So
Do you want to sit? You can sit down if
Sure.
you want.
Let's be sure. So, the state had asked us to apply for this grant. And during the DRI, for those of you that were involved in the DRI, for me, it was on our planning committee. Through the DRI process, the consultants put together a strategic investment plan. And as part of that strategic investment plan, they recommended that we apply for this grant. The BOA grant is not, it's called Brownfield Opportunity Area, but the name is a misnomer because it's really a planning study. It's not capital money. It's not remediation money. It's for our community plan. And I know everybody's a little bit, has a little bit of planning fatigue. So initially I told them no, because I know Heikki Young's on the call. I did mention this to her briefly too. And she was like, we really want to do another planning study right now. But the reason why we thought it might be a good opportunity is because as far as the timing, the grant's due, like I said, in July. We wouldn't actually get notified if our application was successful until January, likely of 2026. And then we wouldn't receive the funding until next summer. And it's a multi-year process. So if we didn't apply this year, we would probably have to wait till 2027. So, next slide, sorry. I gave a little bit of an introduction, sort of just advance pretty quickly. So it's community-based planning grant, as I mentioned. The program was really started to help communities where there was a lot of contamination come up with community plans for and how to remediate sites and reinvest in areas that had been overlooked traditionally. So the categories for funding are development of a BOA plan and then pre-development activities. And we keep going. So I already mentioned this, but ABOA is not about remediation. And it's not capital. And one of the reasons why we are interested in this grant is because there is not a lot of opportunities for planning funds that are out there. And so we talked to some other neighborhood organizations that have received BOAs in the past, and they said what's really valuable is you have a firm like an HRNA or similar type of firm where they can really look at an area and study what's feasible. It's a community process. And so when developers do come and say, oh, we're interested in developing the site, you have a plan that everyone can point to and say, well, this is what the community came up with. So community boards can apply for BOAs, but it is restricted because the money is reimbursable and the costs only pay for 90% of the grant. So you really do need to have an organization that can front the money. And municipalities can also apply in New York City. Though they say, I looked at the state legislation, it basically says if you're applying in New York City, you have to get the local community board's approval as part of the application, as I mentioned. So we really are would want to focus on planning for this grant. And once you become a designated BOA, this may actually be the next slide. So you set up a steering committee, unlike the DRI where the steering committee was really set by the state. The BOA plan, the state encourages the community to work with the community board to set up the steering committee, and they encourage elected officials and city agencies to be on the steering committee as well. And there's a focus on analyzing existing conditions. So looking at vacancy rates, and what's currently in the area. And then of course, engagement with community stakeholders. The BOA plan though, it doesn't compel city planning to do anything. It's not like a land use change. It's really a study of like what could be feasible. I had mentioned about the reimbursements. This is more about the timeline. Here's some NYC examples. So Harlem River BOA, we spoke to HRNA, who was the consultant here. They focus on public open space and access to the river. And when we spoke to the consultant, they said it's pretty flexible on what you want to focus on. It's not like you have to focus on there's not any, it's really based on what the community wants. And as we all know, we've done a lot of work on what the community wants already, which is helpful. And so next slide, I think there's a couple, and so Southern Boulevard is in the planning phase right now. We also talked to Evergreen, which is the industrial business service provider in Greenpoint. They completed a BOA and they said that they found it really helpful as far as a community plan and work closely with their community board. And they're also an IBZ industrial business zone. This is more, Sunset Park is another example. This is also in an IBZ. And next slide. Oh, this was how to build so generally the grants are between 100,000 and 300,000, and so the total program statewide, I believe, is $2 million, funded for $2 million. We were told that they don't get a lot of applications from New York City, so they were really encouraging us to apply. We told them maybe it was because you released the application in May and then it's due in July, and we have to go to the community board. But anyway, that's a longer fight but it would have been helpful if they had given us more notice. So the eligible cost is, like I said, you hire a consultant to take on this study. So, okay, so now we're getting to the map. So we were discussing this internally. We were thinking about focusing on the IBZ because we know there are a lot of contaminated sites. We also heard as part of the 1LIC process that there's a lot of anecdotal evidence about what's in the IBZ, what's possible in the IBZ, but we don't have a study really of what could be possible there. We were considering this portion, so this is north, if you can see the map, this is north of 44th Drive and then goes up to the edge of the IBZ. So the purple on this map is all the IBZ. The Long Island City Partnership, we're an industrial business service provider. We're part of the Industrial Jobs Coalition. So, which means that we work with Department of Small Business Services through a grant that funds Charles's work to help businesses in the IBC. The reason why we were considering this as sort of the portion that we would want to study, we thought about maybe east of the yards, but when we talked to the state, they said that it really, the map should really has to be contiguous, and you don't want to have too large of a boundary where, you know, there might be too many different interests. So you want to keep it as a smaller boundary. This also includes Community Board 1 as well.
Right.
And when I spoke, I had a conversation with Community Board 1, but it wasn't in a formal committee setting because they said because of the timing with one LIC, they couldn't fit us onto the schedule for the land use committee because they had theirs, you know, earlier in the month, and they have their full board meeting tomorrow. So I don't think, and I spoke to Evie, the chair, and the land use co-chairs, and they said, we don't think we can get you on the agenda. You know, maybe we can look at this for next year, but my concern, and we actually just got that email today. So then I thought, do I call Community Board 2 and tell them to take us off the agenda? But my concern is that if we don't apply now, this funding may not be available next year. And like I said, it would actually be a year from now that if we were successful, that we would receive the funding. So I would like to include Community Board 1 if they would like to be included. And I think what we could do is we could, if everyone agrees, we could submit the application, and then if Community Board 1 wanted to be a part of it, maybe in September, we could go to present to them, but I was concerned about like missing that window.
Do you need support from the whole board, or could you just have land use say we support?
It's just a resolution, so it actually says we need a resolution from the Community Board.
Exactly, Kim, to do it the opposite.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so if land use recommended to the executive committee.
Committee.
Well, I guess my question would be, I understand the dilemma that you're in, but looking at the map, I would want to include hand it up to everybody else. This whole area that's north of Queensbridge and sort of to the east, which isn't part of the IBC, I think feels much less studied and, you know, maybe I also understand that there's maybe some city-owned sites around up here that really should get, I mean, the one thing we really need is an integrated open space plan for this whole area that was so short on it, so I would encourage you to just enlarge the area to include that whole IBC, and I can't imagine why, well, I don't know, I mean, I don't know what the Ward 1's thinking,
Right.
but at least to study it.
Right, yeah, you're right. I don't know what word for that. Is there a reason?
Well, I would mean, which is. If we were just
It's not a-
responding to, that. And sort of need, giving feedback. Like through the one LIC.
Yeah, I don't.
They've been trying to ask DCP to.
Well,
There's
so
not
by
that
all means
topic.
include that, but I just looking at it as a totality, and I honestly don't know where all the city-owned sites are up here. It seems like the more you scratch, the more you find.
Yeah.
Little
I
city-owned
wonder if
parks.
you also want to include the waterfront, or if that's getting too
I
much.
was thinking so.
But that's kind of spoken for, right? You have Queensbridge Park, and then you have, where's Costco and Gucci? I mean, yeah.
For the-
CB1.
Socrates Park,
Yeah.
it's further up.
It's
So
CB1.
what's this park? What's
That's
the
the,
old house?
generate.
Oh, right.
Do you want to study that?
We probably should. I mean, so as part of the BOA, you can have strategic investment sites that, so it's, focusing on a larger area, but then if there's also specific sites that you want plan for, which NIFA, I don't know if they'll listen to our plan, but we could, it would make sense to include it, I think, yeah.
Yeah, so I guess what we're saying is enlarge enlarge the area. Teresa.
I'm just gonna throw in a wrench and see what you guys think. I really feel like compared to the south, you know, like there's already a lot of studies and money being poured into this area, and I do understand that the IBC, there's a lot of potential there, and there's definitely precedent based on the other BOAs. But, you know, like this area, down below, where we're sorta, like, there's a lot of potential for that to be actually studied, and then potentially our Blissville neighbors can also benefit from that directly.
You're talking about adding this area?
I'm talking about completely switching the focus to that part of LIC, because there's been a very long need and cry for support from that part of town, and this is an opportunity to actually have a study for that area, and then really start investing into that part of the.
Yeah, I brought up to the state about the east of the yards area, and they said they recommended that be a separate BOA application. I mean, we could.
Can use it too.
Yeah, we could.
I mean, like,
Giving you more work to do.
like, you could potentially do that one this cycle, because even if you apply for this IBZ in this particular cycle, and then like, you know, potentially the one LIC rezoning is already happening, so how is that study going to be informing a train that's, you know what I mean, that's theoretically already moving? That's like a waste of.
So on the other hand, it might be even more important to have a plan that's based on the community vision for those areas.
But they would have already, but that was. I just think we would be too far in that like process for this plan to actually.
But with the new rezoning, like what do we want a lot of these sites, including public sites, to?
Well, isn't that what
But
we're
there are
voting on Wednesday? Like we've
Yeah.
come up with a whole plan already. It's been years and years of plans, and just comparatively to the other parts of the neighborhood, I just wanna put on the record that I think that maybe that should be it's a good opportunity for that to be a new focus.
It's an opportunity for you guys to also, I mean, I think Teresa's point is well taken, and it's an opportunity for the partnership to get more deeply familiar with this area that you've just taken over.
Yeah, the other thing, that I'll say too is the city is doing, and I don't know if the city planning has presented to you about this, but there is an industrial study that the city is undertaking, but it's citywide. So while we do think we'll get some information from that, we haven't seen the results of that study. It's because it's a citywide focus, it sounds from the one LIC conversations and all of the, town halls, it sounded like there was more that people wanted in this, and I know we haven't seen your official recommendations for the IBZ yet, I don't think, but it sounded like there was more that people wanted to see, or even just understanding the IBZ in this area.
In which area?
In this, the area that we've outlined.
Factory district.
Well, I mean, particularly around, like, for example, this is more in CB1, but, you know, we heard from some Queensbridge residents and some of the nonprofits that work around there, like Urban Upbound, like, why is one LIC not including this area adjacent to Queensbridge? And, you know, what could be possible there as well?
I think you've heard it on the other area too.
Yeah.
That hasn't been studied, no money's been given there, no thought has been given to that area.
It'd be great to flag that to the state, that we're starting to pay it, like, we want the state to pay attention, that we're paying attention to this other part of the neighborhood, and, you know, this could be for next year, like, this area that you're looking at now could potentially just be for next year, and you'd have more time to get CB1 fully involved in the process.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I'm honestly open to whatever.
You also have a lot of interesting partners in this area. I'm sorry.
I'm just wondering how we proceed. I mean, the suggestion was made that you move to change the area, but if you need approval from the community board to begin your study, they assume you need us to designate the area to be approved, right?
Yeah, I asked if we could change the boundaries after we received the money, and they said, like, by a few blocks, but you can't change it.
Can't take it here.
Yeah.
I mean, in some ways, to study just the area community board two that you proposed, really doesn't make sense, if you really have strengths for lower. If community board one was going to get off its, whatever, and join us, that's one thing. But if not, we have an area totally within our board that we can recommend.
And let's take two more comments.
Oh, yeah,
I can keep them in.
sorry, it was,
Nick,
If Nick still has his vote, after he wants to say something.
Nick, do you want to say something?
he does,
I just never was in that.
Yeah. Is there one on the other side too?
no, it's the only one.
Okay. Well,
The only question I have is, remind me what the criteria are for the state to choose again, would they be, look more favorable in, one area versus the other?
No, it's all contaminated, really. It has to be a contaminated area and it at either of them, I think would qualify as far as what would make sense for the city.
Yeah.
We'll also say it came up a lot during the DRI process that that this south area has been neglected. So maybe this is enough. So you guys,
Which areas have more of the potential transit sites than?
I think they both have strategic sites, Charles. I don't know. Do you agree?
Well, I would say in general, the area. I think we have so far, we've heard more from the citizens and being more the businesses about being in those areas. Telling us that we need to look at zoning, right? Help them stay in that area. The other area is less so, I would say, terms of trying to help from a planning perspective.
So I'm thinking primarily because some of the focus is on abandoned sites and similar. I'm just trying to get a handle on.
Yeah. I think we've heard more from people in the west on this map, but I don't know if that's just because we've been doing outreach there for the one LIC. So I'm not sure if that's the reason, but we have heard a lot from businesses there.
Is that your decision? You have to speak with all together in the next few weeks?
like you can maybe get some preliminary outreach in this other area.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's going to be responses, very different ones than the IBC because relatively that other area is further developed. Yeah, so.
Okay. So would it make sense for us to do 2 applications or do you feel like we should focus on the east? Or, because we could also just put in 2 applications and then see which one is successful.
Yeah, what's the harm in that?
Yeah, but if DCP is leaning towards the IBC, then we kind of know what's gonna, you know what I mean?
Well, this is the state.
Yeah, the state.
Yeah.
Like they were saying, don't apply right now because we're planning stressed.
I mean, I think there are before, I mean, I'm just talking to Kenny today about this. A study here of how to help some existing businesses stay that are actually threatened by potential rezoning is worthwhile, but it seems like this area just seems more uncharted in that sense. And there are interesting partners to work with in this area.
Yeah.
In terms of other institutions.
It shows to be actually charted.
Right. And the whole issue around this little arm of Newtown Creek, I forget what that's called.
You also have the ground.
Right, there's some really thorny.
The highline 30.
Yeah, I think if community board 1 was on board, I probably would advocate for it. But because of that, I think it might be a missed opportunity to not include Queensbridge. And I don't want to go back and have the state say, well, you can't include them because you didn't get the resolution. And then, so maybe we should focus more on east of the yards.
I think I'm supportive of both, so
Alright,
whatever
okay.
works, get the money.
I was gonna say the same, both
Yeah.
either.
Yeah.
And we're
I
down to
think-
help if you need, I don't know.
Right.
I think we would need, yeah, we would need a resolution and probably let it support. Okay.
So I don't think you're hearing any opposition to helping you
Okay.
with the resolution, but maybe a slight tilt, at least this evening, in favor of.
Well, probably so the ratio will do.
Yeah,
Okay.
whatever works, we'll support you.
Okay.
Take that money.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
all right.
3950.
Charles.
One more?
Um,
No.
wait a minute. Rachel, your guests are here.
Yeah, just the air.
Okay. Hi.
Hello. Yeah, and it's they're up, right?
Yes.
All right, awesome.
Yeah.
So I had something that I'd
Oh,
like,
please, yeah, please.
email you, if possible.
Yes, yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, what's your email?
I'll just type it out.
I don't want to go on Zoom.
I feel like it's a complicated name.
You were waiting, I'm sorry that we kept you waiting.
No, thank you for having us.
I also feel like the microphone catches better when they're speaking from there, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's one of you want to sort of.
You're also on camera
drive
that
over
way too.
here,
Yeah.
so to speak. Ah, yeah. Do
Okay.
you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, yeah, Nick, with Archimera, my client, Susan Wu, St. Jasper.
Hi, Susan.
Hi, everyone. My name is Susan. I'm from a company called ZD Jasper. None of you guys have ever heard of ZD Jasper, but I'm a property manager over there. And my favorite rental building is right in your district. It's across the street, 43, 50, 52nd Street. So we're a family business. We're a developer, and we're here basically for the same reason that all developers come to the land use panel where we're here to pitch you a rezoning project. But the difference between our project and then the project that that gentleman in the blue suit was talking about is that his project is probably here in your district, while ours is right in the middle. It's a Bliss Theater, it's a Jehovah's Witness, it was a cultural center for the past 70 years, and now we're the owners. So rather than just put a rental building over there, we want to come to the community board and then discuss what we'd like to propose as far as maintaining it as a cultural center.
Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah.
Give me 1 second. This one. If you in the future, we can just ask people that you know me, they're.
That's a good idea.
All right.
Okay, cool. Okay, so, the subject site is at 4417 Greenpoint Avenue. And this is basically the intro that we give to DCP. So we went, to DCP, we had an info meeting. And we were kind of at a loss as to what to do at this site because it has a lot of the hallmarks of something that could handle much more bulk, but then there's other things that kind of recommend otherwise. So we're going back and forth. And we just wanted to ask DCP what they thought. So the thing that kind of distinguishes this site is that there's this large commercial strip over here. And you're at the nexus of these two strips that kind of intersect. Where they actually intersect right now is kind of dead. But it seems like it in the next few years will be coming up strongly just because these two sites that are there seem like they're gonna be built up in the next few years, and it just seems like it's like this natural kind of crossing of these two main streets. So next slide, please. So this area is extremely well served by lots of transportation options. You are right on the 7. You have a bunch of buses going up and down Queens Boulevard. Next, please. You can also see over here, there's a strong commercial trend over here. Like I described, is kind of, but it kind of dies in the middle there. Next slide, please.
When you say guys in the middle, you mean along Greenpoint Avenue, that those businesses are not doing well?
Well, it dies when it hits like over by the White Castle over there. Which was it, the Wendy's? Is it a Wendy's or is it?
Oh, on Queens Boulevard.
That's right, yeah. So, Okay, so next slide, please. So we looked at like some of the typical stuff in this in this like strip over here, and we were still kind of at a loss. So we went to DCP and we went to them with a few different options. We went to them with an R7X, with an R7A, with an R8A, and with an R8X. And the thing about this area is that the last large rezoning that happened along Queens Boulevard kind of didn't seem by today's standards like audacious enough. So when we go to city planning now, we're often asked in like every single borough, you guys think that you can go higher? And in the past, this was something that was not really contemplated. But now in the past five years, Brooklyn, Queens, and also Manhattan, everybody wants to put in more housing, and they kind of rely on the private applicant to kind of propose something and to kind of push it. So in this case, we said, we think an R7, some sort is probably the most appropriate thing. But we were also worried because the site with this big cultural program here just seems to be something that could be preserved. So we met sometime back, maybe 2 months back, and we proposed something that you said that you would be interested in seeing. So we have certain elements of something that we'd like to propose, but really what we'd like to propose is more like an engagement to kind of come up with something that's more customized for what you guys need. Because what we had talked about was a 500-seat theater. We kind of discussed what some of the challenges would be from the builder's perspective, and how we might calculate what that means just in terms of cost of building versus what we're asking for in addition. So we've done some homework. I would like to show you guys some of the other stuff that we've done in the past to kind of give back, and how we like thought about this. And to that end, can we go to the next slide, please? So this next slide after this one, this would be the proposed massing. So what we're showing over here, can I not go closer to that? I have to stay back here.
No, please, go
Yeah.
back and point it out since we're here.
Just raise your voice.
Yes. So this massing over here, you can see it over here. This is Greenpoint, and this is 45th. So what this massing gives us the ability to do is actually bifurcate the building. So the big issue that we always have with these bigger zoning districts is that they get these really broad shoulders, and they just kind of block stuff out. So I've been having a conversation ongoing with different parts of city planning for the past 5 or 6 years, just about how some of the earlier thinking around zoning, when you go back to to those Ferris, like those very, very moody like drawings that they had like in the 19-teens, with all the shadows and everything. These things are much closer to the spirit of what the zoning is actually trying to do, which is let light into the street. So, whereas sometimes you might have a lower height, you end up blocking a lot more light out, and it's just something which is not as desirable, especially when you have 60-foot wide streets. So in this case, these new zoning envelopes that we get from city of yes, give us a lot of height, but on a site that's like this, that's at a corner, we can make something that's pretty efficient. We could keep it low, and we could still bifurcate the building. So what this does is that at certain times of the day, it does a lot. I mean, it like brings like sun dappled light down to the street if you have some nice trees. Like you could really make these like very like quintessentially like New York street scenes, and this is in opposition, to what you often see with these rezoned buildings where they're just big, bulky, and not very attractive. So this is what we end up proposing based on what we would be giving. So can we go to the next slide? So before I get into the details of exactly what we would be proposing, this is a building that's right over here. This was something that we actually rezoned for somebody else that ZD Jasper ended up buying and then built. So we are very, very proud of this building. We think it turned out very, very well. It's very close to what we had originally proposed. So if you go back and you see what we had proposed originally, this is very, very close to it. Next slide, please.
Where is that building?
52nd Street.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So we go to great pains to work with developers that execute what we ask them to, and ZD Jasper is excellent, and be very happy to walk you through like a lot of the stuff that we've done with them over the past few years. But they go the extra mile because they really believe in this ethos of something that would beautify the street experience. So we're into details, we're into stuff that kind of edges on not like classicism, but there's a lot of thought towards like craft. Like we work a lot with all the different trades. So you can see that there's a lot of expression with this. We take great pains to make sure that it's something that feels inviting to the street, especially when you're the first one on the street to come in. So the trees haven't come in yet. You don't get the full import of what this thing could be. But we're very confident that in 5-10 years this is going to continue to age and age well within the neighborhood. Next slide, please. Okay, this is a project on Pacific Street that unfortunately was the victim of a bunch of political shenanigans. But this was something where the owner, there was this big area-wide rezoning that was going on, and she was offering much more than what the city was actually giving. But because of how the machine works, she kind of had to be put aside. So in the end, she got rezoned to the same district that she was asking for, essentially, just with not having to give back anything. She was very happy to give stuff back. So in this case, we had this early childhood development center. She had actually started this as her own not for profit. So we had a youth arts lab, and then we also we often work with Leah Thomas at I'm forgetting, I'm blanking on the name, but it's that same organization that the last gentleman talked about.
Yeah, Archibald.
Lee Archibald, yeah.
Evergreen.
Yeah, yep. So she had actually programmed this down here. We had this big light manufacturing kind of like maker space that actually tied into the youth arts center. And you can see we had a bunch of skylights over there. So the whole thing is to make this thing that doesn't feel like it's an underground cave, to make it feel welcoming. And this is something that we often do. So we were some of the first people to kind of play with these people. But I mean, like all over Brooklyn, like I would say most of our work is like kind of like characterized by subterranean spaces that feel like they're on the ground. So we have like a lot of plazas, there's a lot of stuff that kind of brings people in off the street in like gracious ways to kind of enter and approach the building. So next slide, please. So this was the facade. This was the entry to the Youth Arts Center. This was the entry to the school. We had a little smattering of like retail over there. And this was kind of in this style that we were like experimenting with, which is kind of, it's like a neo-scholastic riff. And it's this type of thing where like, we love New York City. We've been in New York City, forever. And, we want to continue to, to contribute. So next slide, please. So this is another one. This is on 1042 Atlantic Avenue. So this one, unfortunately, this is a big beefy building, but this is something where we worked at first with the Nets. They had this NBA Cares, and they were the only team that didn't really have like a big like presence with this. So we worked with them initially. They ended up pulling out because the guy who was simultaneously their G League coach, their like business manager, and he was doing something else. He ended up leaving. He went to some other team. So we ended up. It was a local youth program that Lori Cumbo was involved with. So that's what ended up taking the space. And what we did over here was we worked with them to kind of thicken up this sidewalk. So we pushed into the face of the building. We made this streetscape over here. Next slide, please. And then what we also did was we worked with DOT to kind of come up with this traffic slowing thing, which became the prototype for all of the aim up sidewalks. So as part of getting this through, Crystal Hudson basically, when she came in, she asked us to kind of help her. So we got her started with DOT. We spoke to Garodnik to get things moving with aim up, because we were in there for 7 or 8 like years doing lots of work with CB8 and also with city planning. So
Can you describe what you mean by traffic slowing? I'm not,
Sure. So,
I mean, from the slide, I'm just.
okay, traffic slowing is basically you would kind of narrow the street, and then you would also provide what you don't see is at the crosswalk, there are these big berms. So people are forced to go slower when they get close to the intersections. People will be walking across the raised intersections. We moved the bike lanes to the middle. So you wouldn't have to deal with people, biking through and smacking people. And then, this is prior to city of yes, but we had the loading berths kind of limited to the outside of the building. So it's just something where, like Atlantic Avenue is kind of a highway. So it's just something, in these areas where you're gonna have these thickened sidewalks. We place bollards everywhere, but we're just trying to help, limit the speed over there. And some people like it, some people don't. So next slide, please. So this goes to what we would be proposing over here. So the thought over here is this is Greenpoint Avenue over here, and this is 45th over here. We're going to have some sort of retail that may even be connecting to the grocery store. So that first 100 feet is spoken for. And then after that, we'd have to stick a residential entry over here because this is where we'll be having the cores over here. So after that, we have about 80 to 90 feet, which we propose that there would be a sunken some sort of auditorium. So right now, the way that it's been contemplated, it's a 500-seat auditorium. Its interior dimensions are 60 width by 80 deep, including the stage. You have about 30-foot clear ceiling heights, and then you have about 20 feet on this north side. Next slide, please. You have about 20 feet on this north side. There's there's an egress stair over here that we would need, but this could be, back a house backstage. And then we have another 4,000 square feet, which could be classrooms, support spaces and such that are underneath the residential lobby. So
That's along 45th.
that's along 45th, yeah,
Okay.
closer to the north.
Gotcha.
So there's an ancillary benefit to this too, in that it could be seen from.
Sorry, excuse
from the
me,
boulevard.
sorry.
Yeah,
Can
sure.
somebody point out which part is Greenpoint Avenue? Because we can't see online.
At the bottom. It's that angle bit that's at the bottom.
Thanks.
Yep, sure. Okay,
I see,
so
it's marked,
next
thanks.
slide, please. So the way that you would access this, you would wrap around the back, and this is why it's only 80 feet deep, because you have like this 20-foot wide space back here. There's a stair. We're just saying that it's, some sort of like grand processional stair. You enter into this double height atrium. There could be an outdoor courtyard. This could be part of the atrium. And you kind of wend your way around to go to the classrooms and all the support spaces. Back of houses over here. There's enough space for either like kind of whatchamacallit, like a broad entry, or you could put bathrooms up there also, and then you would enter this theater from the back.
And can you show in the plan exactly where that entry point is?
It would be over here, and you would wrap around the back, come down, and then enter the theater from the back side. So you have an opportunity to have this indoor-outdoor space that's in the back, and if you like, you can also have this connection to the street. So it's something where in the past we've done stuff where you could do dichromic glass, and you could advertise what's going on in your space. Maybe you could do some sort of simulcast as to what's going on in your space. There's all sorts of stuff that we could do. But so what we would propose is that we sit down, we charrette with you guys, we kind of work and come up with something that everybody feels good about. And if it's something that everybody likes, at that point, then we go back to city planning and we'll say, okay, this is something that everybody likes, and that's something that would make it, something that made sense for us. Because right now, like I said, we're just kind of up in the air. We don't want to go all the way through city planning and then come back to you guys after the fact, try to like retrofit something and not have it work. So, if it's something that we could make like organically now, great, because it seems like it's a good site for it. So
How many square feet is the raw courtyard? Is the rear courtyard?
this rear courtyard, it's not that big, it's like 400. Yeah.
That's between Wendy's property and property you're building.
No, the Wendy's property is from here on, and this is within the building proper. So this is Wendy's over here. And then we're in here.
Have you spoken to the owners of Wendy's as to the availability of that lot?
Yeah, we talked
Yeah,
about
we
it.
did.
They're not.
They're not interested.
They must have their own.
Well, they don't, does Wendy's own that site or is it owned by somebody who?
And apparently they do very well there.
Well, anyway, so.
Can I ask, someone, I'm on the Zoom, and because I'm on the Zoom and not there, it's harder to understand, but can someone explain where this perspective is taken from, like pointing on the plan and the direction of the view?
Yes, it's from the backyard. It's from the backyard, looking towards the yellow massing. So it's kind of like a cutaway view. It's like with that back wall removed.
So there would be a rear lower courtyard mid-block, essentially, in the middle of the block,
Yes, but facing west.
facing west.
Yeah.
But we don't know what's gonna be developed on the other half of that block, the western half of that block.
No,
Okay,
no.
I mean, so potentially, as of right, somebody could go up and block all the light for that.
House.
No, you would have to have some sort of rear yard,
30
so you
foot
wouldn't be
rear
able,
yard,
yeah.
yeah.
So there would be something, I think like at least, like when the sun is high, you would still be getting direct light to the center.
What can I just ask one other question? And this is, you haven't mentioned this and I don't see it on your renderings, but the other aspect of the site that's now of the building that's important to the community, I think is visually and on Greenpoint, is that entry pavilion or entry structure for the for the Bliss
Yes,
Theater.
yeah.
Which is this, has some Art Deco detailing.
Yeah.
I mean, the rest of the building is not particularly detailed, but that one piece is that, I mean, have you given any consideration to possibly
We have.
preserving just that one piece?
We have, so this is something, so I also build, so this is something that I'm very, very familiar with, because what I usually build is stuff like that, where like, I have to, get something which is, it's like an adaptive reuse type of play usually.
Right, but
So-
we're just saying a tiny piece of the building.
Yes, however, the fact that it's at the front, the fact that you may have, points of entries coming in through there too, this is like one of the worst places to have to actually preserve this thing. Lots of money would have to go into basically preserving this, would completely distort the entire construction process. What we did talk about is very carefully dismantling it and then maybe like displaying it, so kind of like recreating it. So like they do in these, Greek and French and like Russian subway stations, where you kind of take it down, you'll have it there. It'll be part of the space, but just, like it won't cost us multiple millions of dollars to have to support this stuff. So.
Does anybody know how many seats the existing theater is? It's a lot.
It's like
2,000.
I
Believe theater is 2,000. Yeah.
I think,
Yeah, I mean, I would for reaction to the.
yeah, I mean, thank you for taking the thought and feedback to and coming with these images. My first instinct is that this is exciting. It's very thoughtful and innovative. My second thought is, I think the other piece of it is on the back end, like kind of figuring out what the financials would look like for any type of nonprofit arts organization in the district to operate and sustain this type of square footage.
Yeah.
And also trying to figure out that, this would be for multi-organizational use.
Yeah.
But this is a great starting point. I think it's really just gonna come down to how we can afford it, basically. How can organizations afford it? Yeah, were there any other thoughts in terms of like the housing that would go on top of it and sort of the height? Yeah, well, do you have any preliminary questions or concerns about it?
I don't want to be the only one to react.
Maury has a hand, why don't we go ahead?
Maury?
Yeah, thanks for coming and thanks for your detailed presentation and for sharing some initial ideas. Really appreciate it, thoughtfulness, etc. I definitely would be very interested in this idea of more engagement that you propose, that you'd like to get more engaged with the community and find out what some of the uses that the community wants are. I think it would be great, to involve, figure out, like Carisha said, the financials, but also because, of course, the community center, the arts center, the theater will be so important, but also understanding, ultimately what is the housing going to look like? And when you do build housing, can you have things like, I think somebody mentioned in one of the earlier presentations in the chat, what potential for like a green roof or other kinds of environmental access. I think that would be something that would be worth considering and adding to the conversation. And only just a little comment on presentation for us on the Zoom. It was a little hard at times to follow the presentation because I think there was pointing on the screen, but we couldn't see the screen. So maybe if like mouse on screen might be easier for us. But thank you for coming, and I'm looking forward to discussing this further as a community and getting the public more involved in it. But really understanding what's going to be the plan for the housing and any kind of green potential for it.
Sure. So I also have do have a comment on the massing. If you could go back to your massing diagram.
Sure.
Because I think you were describing a sort of, maybe I'm gonna actually walk up some, but, even go back further, because you had,
Yeah.
right. So you're describing a lot of,
Sorry.
in sort of setbacks and terracing
Yes.
this way, but nothing, but nothing at street level. The street walls are just solid, and I think to express the kind of differences and the separation and that, this side and that side, if you could set back this section on 45th Street, say 5 feet, and really, and actually green that space in front and sort of make it feel more like in plan,
Yeah.
like a building with a set, a 2-part building, because when I look down here, I don't see any expression of those
Yes,
2 parts of the
100%.
building.
Yeah.
That's my comment.
No, we could do that
And
100%.
if in this setback area, you could incorporate or display some of those elements right out there of, some of those Art Deco elements so that it was really public and people could remember. People have long memories in this neighborhood and really see, oh yeah, that was the Bliss Theater. I think that would mean a lot.
Okay. Yeah.
Sounds great.
Here's Stephen and then Anatol.
Yeah, I was just wondering, on the theater, the 600-seat theater, I think you said. Is there a way, or potentially planning wise, to somehow be able to bifurcate that theater? In other words, not every group that's going to perform is going to need 500 seats.
Correct.
And if we could split it 3 and 2 and could be opened up so they want 5 for one, something like that, it might be a better able to use it for the community groups.
Yes.
Because whatever group we put together was an umbrella organization to manage that space. It's gonna have a bunch of organizations as part of it, some of which are bigger and some of which are smaller.
Yeah.
So when you're planning, see if there's a way of doing that.
Yes, there is, and this is why it's so critical that we do this together, because I don't know what you guys need.
Yeah.
So, as soon as you guys let me know what you need, we could do anything, you just need to tell me what you want.
What's your timeline in which you would like to get all the feedback on how to build out that space?
As soon as possible. We're looking to go back to DCP with hopefully some support from the community board that I think we can get solidified on what level of rezoning they're willing to go and
Because we're adjourned for July and August, and then we come back in September.
I mean, could we do like, because it's you and then there's another gentleman, I think, who were like the main, like drivers. Was it you?
Vice Chair, we were also meeting with Dirk from the Sunnyside Shines bid.
But there's like
not
another
with the
organization.
board,
It's you, okay, yeah, so if maybe,
Spanish Theater.
yeah, that's right. So if we could meet maybe the 4 of us and anybody else who wants to meet over the summer, so that by the time the end of the summer rolls around, we have some, something that we could show everybody. Is that something that you'd be into?
Are we allowed to do that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
We're allowed to work over the summer.
That's right, we're volunteering. Yeah, I think we would have to then just put some thought around how to get the word out to all all the arts and cultural groups that would be interested in this process, we would have to form like a little bit more of a structured community
Okay.
input process, so it's equitable.
Okay. But we would need your help with that too.
Absolutely.
Just because if
Yeah.
it becomes, if there's too many stakeholders,
Understand?
you know.
Yep, understood.
So you
Yeah,
guys have
we
to
will
work
be in
very
touch.
fast.
Yeah.
I have a question. Well, I know it's somebody else before.
Yeah, let's do
Yeah,
that.
we gotta
Oh,
do
then
that.
we'll tell you.
Yeah, thanks for coming by and the really thoughtful presentation. But I just want to echo some of the comments about, a friend of mine once recently said about New York City in general, like, wouldn't it be great if these buildings were beautiful and not just tall? So, so that's my challenge to you as you do this. And having seen some of your other work, I'm sure you'll put some thought into there. But yeah, and again, the housing, right? This would be given what's happening like on 46th Street on the old sidetracks lot and on what's happened on 39th Place, some of these shinier things coming in. It won't be out of it's not as out of character as it would have been 10 years ago, but this is still a big thing to a relatively bigger thing to wrap our heads around. So the housing would be a really big concern. So yeah, just echoing that concern as well. But thank you for this.
Yeah, thank you.
Particularly 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms.
Yes. Even more than I mean, this is definitely a more family oriented community.
Yep. Yep.
Puppies and babies. So, so that's how we roll. So yeah, 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms.
Yeah, we definitely hear that in our current building on 52nd Street. A lot of families in that building, a lot of kids running around. It's really fun. And we're definitely intent on designing for larger spaces. If not a family, then 3 people who want to squeeze into smaller space to save a little bit of money. So that's also a customer.
Yeah.
And your comment on the beautiful building, Nick is the right person to go to. This guy, he's an architect. He wants to design interesting things, not just put a building up. So he comes up with these really intricate designs and he goes back to us and says, here's the bill.
Thank you, Frank.
Let's go, you know.
Brad?
And we'll go to.
Oh, can I go?
Brad, let's hold on for 1 second.
Sure.
Sorry, name,
Oh, I'm
yeah, you're a part of this, so I feel like you gotta go.
Oh, I asked.
Yeah.
He's the executive director of Italian
Yeah,
Spanish.
I was going
Right,
to
exactly, I
present.
remember that.
I'm the artistic executive director of Italian Spanish Theater for being here for 48 years. Have you considered the possibility of keeping the theater, the Bliss Theater, and built around it?
It's
And
too
with
big.
also with the possibility of the air rights related to the supermarket next to it.
The supermarket, I mean, Susan, you guys have been talking to like that.
Purchase their air rights, we would definitely be interested. They haven't been too willing to talk to us so far, so we've gone to our brokers, we tried to have that conversation. I'm working with Dirk to go and try to reopen that conversation. As far as building around the building, it's really not possible. The building's come down, it's giant space, and there's no structural columns in there, so you can't support anything above that.
Well, because it has been done many other times in many other places, so it's not to reinvent the wheel.
No, it's true. It's just, it's so expensive to develop.
But at the same time, you can have incentives related to tax incentives, awards for keeping the theater being a treasure, almost 100 years old. So I mean, there are pros and cons, of course, but at the same time, depending of what you do with it, in the same way that they save the Apollo Theater in Harlem, or or the King's Theater in Brooklyn, or whatever. There is nothing like that in Queens. So that to save this theater to be also an artistic hub for Queens, as in other places they have done it. Also, I saw in the classification they had for the buildings, so you could have a J5 for a mixed use residential with a theater in there. So I mean, there are really things, pros and cons on it. Of course, always the first thing, to just save it and build around it is very expensive. But yeah, but sometimes you can find a way. I mean, many other times have been.
No, and we've definitely done
Yeah.
stuff like that. We've definitely done stuff like that, but it's usually, time for something that has a lot of revenue generation that kind of offsets that, and like housing in the city just isn't that You know, but at the same time, the spirit of what you're saying is exactly what we feel, because for me, this thing didn't make sense until we thought about putting the theater in there. You know, because I just didn't understand what this was to this area, until you know, until you like broke it down. So, yeah, so
But you know,
think
I'll be
we're
willing,
like we
I'll
are
be willing
with you
to sit
100%.
down and talk about it, because, you know, we've been working on that for 10 years with a strategic plan and 5-year business plan, etc. So I think we could find a way of
We're
preserving the
gonna
theater.
talk,
Yeah,
we're gonna talk.
okay,
Yeah.
just open to that possibility.
They're in your theater now.
That's fine. It's 100 seats, but that doesn't. But I've been doing same things at Carnegie Hall or Lincoln Center, so the size of it's not a problem. I mean, we've
Well-
been working on that for many years.
Your strategic plan is particular to your nonprofit, not particular to this theater, correct?
It was for the project per se of my organization,
Yeah.
but not the theater per se.
Right.
The transformation, the Atalia
Because
Hispanic
you've
Arts
been
Center.
looking for a larger center for a while.
Yes,
Right.
for 10 years. Yeah,
Right.
we had that project. Actually, it was at that time a 625 seat theater. So I know, you know, the kind of sizes you're talking about, or the possibilities of that, we figure it out. But what I'm saying is, I would love, and we had also the commitment at the time of the city with $7.5 million in order to continue doing that.
Yeah.
And federal and.
But that
and-
didn't come through, right?
Well, because there was the COVID and everything became limbo, but now because of but it was a different thing. What I mean is that we're ready to do something that now, because just 2 blocks from where we've been for 48 years, we could do it there, you know, saving that theater and be able to have something that could be an iconic building, you know, for you. And you know, in a win-win situation, we're not talking about, you know, it's something that I think we should explore as.
Well, I think we're thinking the same thing, like it has to be win-win
Yeah.
for this to work, right?
Exactly,
So,
yeah.
you know, so we are very much into providing something. I just don't think that that saving the entire thing is economically feasible, for the same reason that it's not feasible to keep the front up. Because you just distort everything, and the thing with construction is that as soon as you get the loan out, there's a big clock tick there. So if you do anything that increases like risk like that, it's nobody will even fund you. Because they see
Well-
something like this, you know, because you're not, even if you get every single tax break, right, you're not like really. There's not enough that you could get that would really, that would financially justify it. So we're 100% into, you know, giving you guys like a very, very robust, facility into saving, you know, the evidence of this in a way that makes, you know, people feel the previous presence, but I just don't think that we could.
Why
commit
don't
to
we
saving
keep
it.
this conversation for the summer?
Sure,
It sounds like a
yes.
great thing to do.
Yeah.
In
Okay.
July.
Yeah, I think.
And then
we'll keep.
Brad, did you have anything that you wanted to say? I saw you lowered your hand.
Hey, guys, I'm gonna pass my question because I got a kiddo that's crying right now.
All right, cool. Yeah, Erica.
Just to note, Sunnyside has been designated by the Historic Districts Council as one of their 6 to Celebrate programs. So we're getting some support from them over the next year with information gathering about things that people in the community want to preserve and kind of focus on. So just want to note that we can anticipate from that information gathering, there will be, you know, some people talking about wanting to preserve the theater. We'll hear that, but I also think we might gather information that might be informative to the development process. So as you talk about kind of elements in terms of design, we're thinking about kind of the character of the neighborhood more broadly. So that process will be actually happening in concert with us having some conversations over the summer.
Okay,
So,
great.
yeah.
Awesome. Anything else?
Well, thank you very much for coming.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
Certainly, the facility that you're talking about is something that this community really needs. So we take it seriously. We want to keep the conversation going.
Yeah, so do we.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
All right.
We'll talk.
All right.
Yeah.
What?
So I work with
Oh,
the communication
I think we'll
director.
wrap up. Yeah, we're gonna-
Yeah.
Our last agenda
Yeah.
item is
You go on ahead.
city planning. So, hey, County, I don't know if you have any updates, you or Katie.
Katie does.
Yeah.
Go for it, Katie. Katie, if you're talking, we can't hear you.
Katie, are you on?
Very low.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Now,
Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. Weird. Okay. So I'll start over, I guess. So I have a couple of non-1 LIC related items that you guys can expect to see in the fall. First, we have the ongoing industrial plan. So the survey that I shared with you guys a while back is still accepting responses. So definitely take a look at that if you haven't submitted one already. And then second is a more traditional private application. So that is for 6312 Broadway. This project's anticipated to certify before the end of this month. Because it will be certifying just before CB break, the review time would be extended, and you would have until October 6th to share your recommendation. The applicant team should be reaching out to you all soon to find a time to present to you. So be on the lookout for that from them. But those are my only two updates.
Katie?
Yeah.
Christine, so you and I corresponded about the timing, and I think you said that not officially, but somehow our application would be considered, legitimate if we got it in the day after our October meeting.
Correct. So
Which I think I think would be the 10th. I think we meet the 9th and it would be the 10th. Is that correct? What I said an email.
Yeah, you said that your full board meeting is not until the 9th.
Right.
And so this would be due on the 6th. So yeah, we can absolutely leave the portal open, and so we can still accept your recommendation, and then it'll be included as normal.
And that would be on October 10th, just to get the right date. I mean, we can't send you the recommendation until the day after the meeting.
Yep. And I have a note of this here as well.
Okay. And then I guess if you're speaking to the applicant, then if we would be happy to talk to them at our first land use meeting in September.
I will also make a note of that. It is on the applicant to reach out to you all to find a time to meet, but I definitely have a note of this if that would be your preference.
Okay. I don't think I can ask everybody to, convene earlier than that, so.
board meeting is the 4th.
No, in October.
Oh, October.
The board meeting is the 9th.
Second.
No, because that's,
Oh, right.
that's the after
Yes,
before.
it's the 9th, correct.
And I guess if you guys do have any 1 LAC related questions, just to shoot out now, we could also take those, but I know we are getting late here.
No immediate questions for DCP. I think at this point, we're pretty close to having a final set of recommendations that we're going to vote on Wednesday.
All right. Well, I look forward to seeing you all then.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a great, we don't speak on Wednesday. Have a great summer.
Thank you. I will see you guys Wednesday, but good night.
Oh, we'll see you. We'll see you.
Stay on for a minute, or is Anatole still there?
He's here.
What?
I'm here.
Okay. Yeah. I just think we should maybe talk either tonight or be prepared to let people know on Wednesday with regard to the upcoming, post-community, the other phases of Euler.
Mhm.
Is it your expectation that the community board would offer testimony, something, from the board, and then the other board members are free to speak as individuals at those hearings?
Yeah, so for the 26th, for the borough president's hearing, following our vote, and then unfortunately I won't be here. I'll be in Germany, but maybe you and Pramit can attend that meeting. I think it's, whether you do it doesn't matter to me if you do it virtually or in person, but we should present that testimony on the board's behalf, and then then other board members are free to testify as they would on their own.
I think need to clarify to all the board members is how,
Yeah.
they just need to identify themselves as board members, but then to say they're not testifying.
Exactly,
Correct?
exactly,
Okay, okay, I don't
exactly.
everybody-
And I'm happy to authorize the land use chairs to make that testimony at the, if you can make it. If not, we'll find somebody else. But yeah, whoever's delegated does the official represents the board's official position. And then
I can make it. If not, at minimum, I can probably write a couple of paragraphs for that person to say, because we probably want to give them something to read.
Yeah, I actually tried to sign up as an individual, although I'd be happy to offer to
Yeah.
instead give the board's testimony. I do think that speaking in person has a little more impact than anything else, so if I can figure out, the only way to sign up online is for virtual, so I don't know if they've closed the hearing but they ought to admit.
No, yeah, and Michael Carlier, the director of community boards at Borough Hall, he wants CB2's official position to be stated and heard.
So
So
I will make myself available
yeah,
that day.
he asked me to send in my written testimony if I can't be there. So but we're figuring it out now. So Prameet, you write the written testimony, and Christine, you go and
Okay.
present the official
Right,
one.
and anybody else that wants to come speak, I think on your own, as an individual, I think it will.
You're saying we can't sign up other than,
I left a message, but maybe Michael Pearl, if somebody can actually tell us.
we could just find out, because I know I want to testify in person if it's possible to do so.
Yeah, I'll let you know if they call me back.
Debbie has better connection with her.
Oh, right.
Find out.
It's in the morning.
Oh, it's in the, you can go in person.
If we can still, how to sign up to testify in person. That's what we want to.
Wednesday.
26.
At like 9:30.
Yeah, it starts at 9:30. Okay.
And it's on our website and Facebook.
Surprised they're doing it simple.
That was and then probably there will be a city council after that, but also in summer, correct?
No, it'll be in the fall.
I think I remember the timeline was the fall.
Oh, okay. So we'll be back.
Isn't there CPC?
CPC, wait. No, yeah, it goes
Maybe
borough
Katie can answer that
president, then
question.
CPC, then CPC, then city council, right? So CPC would be also in the summer?
Yeah, I just dropped the diagram of the timeline. So yeah, after borough president, the CPC, and yeah, DCP, correct me if any of that is wrong, but yeah, CPC would be next, and then council.
Yeah. Both those are really important. I mean, I
Yeah,
think.
council's like October-ish now at this point, September, October-ish.
All right, that was the only other thing I wanted to bring up. Anybody else? Anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
Well, sorry, a couple, yeah, sorry, a couple of
sorry.
updates for me. Yeah, so Prameet, thank you for sending me the updated conditions. Thank you for consolidating everything. Thank you, everybody, for feeding into Prameet. I'm gonna email it to all of us tonight so we can read it. Definitely read the whole thing. I've also generated a summary of it, like if the top 10 takeaways that you absolutely must know, including numbers and things. But that's also what the quiz is for. So, but I think everyone here has taken the quiz, so I think you're all safe. Because otherwise, I was going to ask 25 questions live on Wednesday, and no one wants that. And then I can share now. That there is a CB community benefits agreement process in the works, almost ready to be announced, but I can say it is in the works. I'm involved, so whatever our final list of recommendations is, as long as I'm at the table, it's absolutely going to be fought for, right? So I can share that for when LIC. Yeah, and otherwise, look out for the reading to do and the Cliff's Notes outline, and otherwise I'll see you on Wednesday.
Yeah, before we send it out, let's wait for, I think the most significant change or addition to the recommendations is in relation to the IBZ, and Kenny drafted some thoughts, which Ramit put into a set of,
Yep.
you know, specific recommendations, and now you're just gonna modify that one. There's two areas that Kenny, I think, has some very thoughtful recommendations about within the IBC.
Well, it's actually not in the, it's contiguous.
Contiguous to the IBC, but and he's gonna do a diagram that, so that people can really see what, you know, the areas that he's referring to. So if we get that tomorrow, is that fine?
I sent it to him.
Oh, the updated one?
Yeah.
After we spoke, oh, okay.
If you email it to me.
Did you send it?
So when is this gonna go out to the membership?
I
So
will
is
send
that
out
like a-
ASAP.
Yeah.
So tomorrow,
I-
I just want to get the right diagram in there.
I'm happy to hit send now and we can always update with,
Anatole, have you thought of how you want to, I hate to use the word, but orchestrate the meeting on Wednesday so it could run as
Oh, I see it. I got it.
efficiently as possible?
yeah, no, I think when Pramit presents it, I think we go straight to a motion and then go into discussion. Otherwise, you know, we're gonna be dilly-dallying for for many hours.
What I was thinking was I might just do a quick recap again of
Yep.
what I said last time about how the working group did things. And then I'll summarize the recommendations again, and then I'll also summarize the additions to the recommendations. So I'll do
Yep.
those three things, then we'll say that the committee's recommendation is to approve with conditions. We'll get a seconder, and then we'll have discussion.
I suggest that you actually make the motion yourself.
Sure.
Yes.
Okay, and are there other changes other than the area that the specific area of the IBC that's going into the recommendation?
Yes, there's a bunch of different changes. They're
So
all
could you walk
highlighted
through-
in red.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah,
It's
so you'll be able to see.
get the people who.
Yeah, exactly. It's very clear what's been added, and all
Yeah.
the recommendations that people gave me, a lot of people in this room gave me recommendations. I added either verbatim or to sort of the effect that people wanted included. If the recommendation itself was a little too specific or a little too controversial, I made that what I thought would be sort of palatable and in line with what the working group is doing. That's right. So,
The recommendation that I sent you, that you indicated that you liked, but you didn't
Yes.
change. How would you prefer me to handle it? Would you prefer me to wait till after the motion is passed to bring that up, or would you prefer me to try to make a friendly amendment, or would you prefer
Friendly amendment.
hold off till Borough Hall?
if we actually chat, me, you and Carisha right after this, I had deferred to Carisha for all of the arts and culture recommendations. So if she's on board, I would be totally fine to edit it tonight before Anatole sends it to the group.
Have you seen it?
You did, I see, I saw it.
Then we'll talk about it.
Sure.
I just don't want to cause a problem. That's
No,
all.
no worries. I
I'll
appreciate
be willing to take it to Borough.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
So,
Cool.
am I waiting?
Probably in the next hour or so, I'll send you an updated version, and then feel free to send that to the board.
Yeah, I'm ready to hit send tonight because you know we have 12 hours. We have like 18 hours to do this.
Okie dokie.
Awesome.
Okay.
I second the motion to adjourn.
Everyone-
Good night.
Yeah, right. Well, it is meeting. Thanks for the joint meeting.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.